Members of Parliament, support staff, visitors in the Tribune, all following this meeting via social media, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I welcome you to this Central Committee meeting for today, Monday, May 12, 2025. This is Central Committee meeting number 20. Of course, that was the meeting Central Committee meeting number 20 for today, May 19th, 2025. We have established a quorum of 9 members, I believe we have arrived at, and 12 members. We have, yes, that's correct. We have established a quorum of 12 members. I invite you to stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. Notices of absence have been received from the members Doran and La Vega. Are there any other notifications from the floor? I do have a member of Parliament who wishes to speak. I give the floor to MP La Cruz. MP La Cruz, you have the floor.
A blessed afternoon, Madam Chair Lady Griffier, my fellow colleagues, and those listening via social media. Madam Chair Lady, I extend a heartfelt congratulations to the proud and resilient people of Haiti as they celebrated the Haitian Flag Day yesterday, a day that symbolizes unity, independence, and enduring spirit of a nation that has long fought to remain a beacon of freedom in the Caribbean. On May the 18th, 1803, 222 years ago, Haitians stitched together their first flag in defiance of colonial rule, molding a republic that would become the first black-led republic and in the first nation to abolish slavery. It was not just a victory for Haiti, it was a victory for human dignity all over the world. As I celebrated this yesterday, Madam Chair Lady, and pleased with your indulgence, I can't ignore the harsh realities unfolding on the island of Hispaniola. Haiti today faces many challenges: political instability, widespread violence, and a serious humanitarian crisis. Thousands suffering, with a basic right of protections slipping further from reach. On the other side of the island, in the Dominican Republic, the country where I was born, there are increasing reports of human rights abuses, particularly against the people of Haiti. We must not look away. So, Madam Chair Lady, a cry to our government, not only for pretty words, but to put action behind it and stand behind the people of Haiti. Happy Flag Day to all Haitians living on St. Martin. I thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, MP La Cruz. I now give the floor for notifications to MP Lewis.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to my honorable colleagues here. Good afternoon to the listening viewing public of St. Martin. I would just like to reiterate Happy Flag Day to the Haitian community here and abroad as well. And I'd like to thank the MP for his kind words to the Haitian community. I was brought up with many Haitian friends and babysitted by a Haitian lady when I was younger. God bless and rest her soul. Madam Fifi was one of the most kindest persons that I've met in my life. Also, I would like to give my condolences to the family of the late lady that was murdered in French Quarter. Mental health is a real crisis on our island, and that we may continue to caucus on the matter and bring solutions to solve the mental health issues that we have going on in our country. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Lewis. I join my colleagues, MPs La Cruz and MP Lewis, in respectively congratulating the Haitian people all over the world with the celebration of their Flag Day, and with the notification by MP Lewis, I express heartfelt sympathy to the families of the young lady who lost her life in what appears to be a case of serious domestic violence. With that, we continue with the agenda point for this meeting, and that is the report on the 8th gathering of the Parliamentary Network on Climate Change and Sustainability, the 16th gathering of the Parliamentary Network for Gender Equality, and the 11th meeting of the Interparliamentary Commission on Women's Rights and Gender Equity of the FOPREL in San Jose, Costa Rica, from October the 23rd through the 25th of 2024. This document is listed on the IS 961, and it is dated May 5th of this year. It is noteworthy to mention that this meeting was originally scheduled for Monday, May 12, 2025, but at the time, due to the lack of quorum, could not take place. So going over to the agenda point itself, as I mentioned, on August the 28th of last year, Parliament received an invitation on the document number IS 1031 from Parliamentary for the President of Parliament and members of Parliament to attend the Hemispheric Interparliamentary Gathering, which marked the occasion of the 8th gathering of the Parliamentary Network on Climate Change and Sustainability, the 16th gathering of the Parliamentary Network for Gender Equality, and the 11th meeting of the Interparliamentary Commission on Women's Rights and Gender Equity of the FOPREL, titled Migration in the Context of Socio-Environmental Challenges in San Jose, Costa Rica, from October the 23rd through the 25th of the year 2024. The Central Committee of Parliament, in its meeting of September the 17th of last year, approved the composition of a delegation consisting of the President of Parliament, members of Parliament, and the Secretary General of Parliament to travel to San Jose, Costa Rica from October the 21st through October the 26th to participate in these gatherings. The delegation comprised of the President of Parliament, MP Westcott Williams, MP Doran of the NA, MP Eran of the NA, MP Otley of the UPP, MP De Weaver of the PFP, and we were accompanied by the Secretary General of Parliament. We traveled to San Jose, Costa Rica on October the 20th and returned to St. Martin on October the 27th. On May the 5th of this year, a report was submitted regarding this work travel, which documents the report of the travel is registered on the IS 961 of the parliamentary year 24-25. Of course, members of Parliament also receive a copy of this report via email. In its report, the delegation that traveled provided a comprehensive explanation and summary of the various sessions that the delegation participated in. The report also includes conclusions and recommendations by the delegation. Just to give a few of the takeaways and recommendations of this extensive report are the following. The delegation paid keen attention to the fact that larger countries and parliaments are also dealing with similar issues as it regards topics discussed during these meetings. We also discussed that this gathering allowed for reflection on our reality and our past regarding migration and the need to consider possibly amending our policies and controlling the current situation. We discussed the humanitarian aspect of migration and the need to look at this further in the context of St. Martin. Further, in our evaluation, we discussed possible changes to laws and policies based on the current immigration situation in St. Martin, such as children who are born in St. Martin, health care coverage, the coverage for cost of SZV for working immigrants, and revenue-generating proposals based on migration. We put forward this report and the declaration of this gathering, as well as the IOM report on St. Martin, for further discussion in Parliament and to allow for questions to be posed to our government as it concerns this topic of migration. Does any member wish to ask questions or make comments as per the report submitted by the delegation that traveled to San Jose, Costa Rica? Again, I wish to, okay, I see MP Irian requesting the floor, but I just wanted to mention that the document in question is document IS 961, and at this time I give the floor to MP Irian. MP Irian, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Kafir, members of Parliament, the viewing public. And yes, as the chair mentioned, we traveled to Parliamentary. That was my first time in that committee, the Parliamentary committee. And from my observations, what I did enjoy about that is that it was English, for one. And the topic, first of all, I'd like to thank all the MPs that were there. I think that St. Martin, yes, we are a small island, but we were probably the most powerful at the Parliamentary. We all spoke, we all contributed, and I think that our points were well taken in the document in the end also. And as the chair, I'm also happy that we have a report, and I'm appreciating the manner in which Parliament is operating now when we do travel. I think for too long we would travel to Latino, Parliamentary, and other areas of travel where we have not formally reported back to the public, and that leaves then a bad taste in the public mouth on MPs just traveling. In the report for the public, I'd like the public to know that the report will be public, so you can also read the report for yourself. You could also continue to hold us accountable in terms of the travel. You could pose your questions to members of Parliament and in the committees. We've also discussed as the committee traveling to Parliamentary for that meeting that we will together as a body of Parliament now gather questions, send them to the government, and even call a meeting based on these topics. What was also interesting is, of course, the fact that we all don't have the same, let's say, thoughts on migration and immigration, but all of our points are valid. And one of the points that we realize is, again, St. Martin, even in terms of immigration and migration, we contribute the least in terms of, because what we saw that there's a lot of migration due to conflict, migration due to climate change, and even though we contribute the least towards it, the expectation is that we are able to support as much as any other country. And those are our realities, and we also have to now see how we plan to adjust to that. And we can't forget also that we come from a country of migration also. So my grandparents traveled to Santo Domingo for work, Aruba for work. So we also understand, and in the last few years, we've also had individuals from other islands come here seeking work also. So that's a sort of a Caribbean habit. But we also have to now look at our policies. We have to look at how migration impacts our economy going forward. So I look forward to the committee. I look forward to Parliament now looking at this report, getting our questions together, our thoughts together, our positions together, and then posing these questions to the government and seeing what kind of economic policies and migration policies and border control policies we could produce going forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, MP Irian. I see MP Roseberg requesting the floor. MP Roseberg, you have the floor.
blessed afternoon to all, to my colleagues present here today, to the ones in the public and the listening and viewing public online. I went through the report. I have also participated in Parliamentary in regards to other topics, but going through this report, it was nice to see, first of all, indeed, a report being received. I'm also happy to see that the new members of Parliament in regards to Parlatino also will be bringing reports forward, because I do believe in informing the community on what's going on so that it will not leave a gray area. So I'm happy to see that the chair of the committee scheduled a meeting for tomorrow in regards to Parlatino matters, and there we will be discussing different topics, what has been happening with Parlatino. But in regards to this report, Madam Chair, I'm happy to see that the matter of legislation on sexual violence has been discussed. Why? Because also in Parlatino, and we will be discussing that tomorrow, the ones that went to Parlatino in regards to that topic, we will be bringing forward something that matches that topic, so then you can see how the different platforms provide information in that regard, and then we can see how we can combine those different topics in bringing legislation forward for our country, because we have been seeing, and then especially the online violence, it can be sexual, it can be related to other matters, how that's taking over the world, not only on St. Martin, but also worldwide, and we need to look at that from a broader perspective. So I would like to ask the community to make sure to tune in tomorrow as well, where especially this topic that is also pretty hot on St. Martin will be discussed, violence on social media. That's what I would like to contribute to this discussion for now. I thank you.
Thank you, MP Roseberg. And as we continue on this report, and it was, I believe, MP Irian who mentioned, or in fact, I mentioned it in the introduction as well, the report on St. Martin from the IOM. And you might recall that, in fact, the government was asked about their reaction on this report, and which comes from the International Organization on Migration, and a report from that organization was made in 2022. And again, with some conclusions, recommendations, some factual information regarding migration. At the time, the government had responded to my queries regarding this report, and they were to look into it. And I think, given this report before us now, it would be a good time to follow up on on receiving the government's response to this particular study that was done with respect to St. Martin. And that report, too, is a public report that persons can peruse and look at regarding the migration, which, as you know, is immigration and immigration, and how that is on St. Martin. What are some of the realities of St. Martin where that is concerned? Another note in the context of this report is the fact that you see it as well in the discussions of Parlatino, where matters like climate and gender are on the forefront. In fact, in the coming weeks, Parlatino is considering approving or proposing and approving a resolution on climate that is upcoming in the coming weeks as well. So, and these, of course, are things of utmost importance also for St. Martin. They are, and they continue to be, matters of utmost not only importance, but in my opinion, where both of them are concerned, they are matters of urgency. I don't see the need for any further comments on this report, except to know that MP De Wever is, MP De Wever, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Good afternoon to everyone. It's just to reiterate, because I know that we've had the discussion before about Parliamentary and Parlatino, not choosing one over the other specifically, but just because for the purpose of the fact that there is another trip coming up for Parliamericas, that we continue to do rotation for those that haven't been there, especially so that they can have that comparison between Parlatino and Parliamericas. One of the things to note for public consumption is the fact that when you look at the members of Parlatino, they are the Spanish-speaking members. And when you look at the members of Parliamericas, they are English-based, a lot of Spanish as well. But what you see in Parliamericas that you do not see in Parlatino is an abundance of Caribbean country members, member countries then. And this is one of the big sort of, I guess, maybe factors for me in being able to be in a position to compare both attendance then at both sessions, is the fact that, you know, when we have this dialogue about being more in touch with our Caribbean brothers and sisters in the islands, this is one that actually supports that argument or that position of doing more with them. And this provides actually a really good basis for it if we are not members of CARICOM, like how we saw lately. The French side has become a member. When you go online to the Parliamericas website, you will see English-speaking Caribbean islands as members, whereas in Parlatino, you see Spanish-speaking Caribbean islands as members. So it's just something to keep in mind for those that will be going to the following session of Parliamericas, so that we can actually just continue to keep the building up of relationship between our region happening all the time. I just wanted to remind us of that. And I look forward to hearing back from those colleagues that are going to Parliamericas for the first time, I think in the next 2 weeks. They'll be there. So I definitely look forward to their experience and their comparison to Parlatino that we've been, members of for forever and attending. Thanks, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, MP De Wever. I see MP Lewis requesting the floor. MP Lewis, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to add to what MP De Wever just said, what is great to know that I just recently visited Panama for the Parlatino meetings. The progress over the time, because it was my third visit, I see that the progress of the communication part when it comes to English is also becoming a priority, where the English-speaking persons such as myself can interact more into those meetings. They have also had translators for us as well, and in the fact to translate what was being said, and also when we spoke, they also translated what we said to make the discussions more fruitful. I have seen where we can adopt many things into our legislation. Just for a brief statement, seeing the fact that we just passed the higher education law here, that was also one of the discussions where we could have contributed greatly to, which we did. That will be all for now, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Lewis. I see MP Erin requesting the floor. MP Erin, you have the floor.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. Just going through the report again, and I remember us discussing also the lack of data, for us to be able to make these policies or even compare ourselves to the other countries at Parliamericas. So what I would like, since maybe we don't have that much questions, can we get out of this committee meeting the government to respond to the report? And instead of, let's say, maybe posing questions, say, hey, let's get the government's position on the report, and out of that, then we see how we move forward.
Thank you, MP Erin. In fact, that would have been my concluding remarks or my concluding suggestion for this meeting. But before I go over to that, just a note in follow-up to MP De Wever's comments, and another plus for us from the side of Parliamericas is the fact that while they too are looking at their organization in terms of accommodating countries such as St. Martin and determining what status we can have with Parliamericas, but in the meantime, they are including us in their meetings, they are including us in our discussions, be they virtually or in person, because they also offer us the possibility to participate in virtual meetings on topics such as these in the report and others as well. So I wanted to also add that part in. So while they're looking at that, but that does not take away from the fact that I am a firm believer, and I'll continue to state it, that we must do more about formalizing our regional associations and contacts. And it's good to know that many of us can draw on these contacts because of the informal relations, but it pains me somewhat to see other islands moving ahead from a formal perspective, be it OECS and our French counterparts, or CARICOM and our Dutch counterparts. But in the meantime, we have been talking about these matters since at least 2010. So I remember the members. I want to thank you for your contribution to this discussion. As I mentioned, the report is clear, consisting of, in total, I believe, approximately 12 pages. So those who have not had a chance yet, I invite you to peruse that document. And in the meantime, the proposal is for this central committee to approve the proposal of the delegation and to forward this report, the declaration of the gathering, and the IOM report on St. Martin with the questions mentioned during the meeting to government for further handling. And if the central committee is in agreement thereof, then I continue, ladies and gentlemen, to thank you for your participation, members, and we would then have come to the end of this Central Committee meeting. I thank you for your participation once again, and I hereby close this meeting of Parliament. Meeting closed.